Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Philippine Startup Week 2021. My name is Patricia Sariban of PhilDev Foundation, and I will be your moderator for this session. So, tonight we'll talk about jumpstarting innovation through the collaboration between companies and startups. So, according to the Philippine Development Plan, long term investments and innovation create new firms and industries that develop high quality jobs. So we see this great potential to stimulate innovation in companies through working with startups that would lead to increased development in technological facilities, operational effectiveness, and digital capacity. So this evening, we are fortunate to have four speakers with us who will share their experiences on how these types of collaboration can spark innovation and growth in the country. Then later, we'll attempt to determine the enabling and hindering factors that affects the collaboration between startups and private companies. And of course, we hope to identify key action points that we as an ecosystem can do to nurture these types of collaborations and eventually lead to the advancement of technological solutions to achieve economic growth. So, should you have any questions at any time of the session, feel free to type them in the chat box, and the team would be happy to answer your questions. All right. So without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker, Ms. Cherry Morillon. Ms. Cherry is the founder and CEO of Kawil AI Solutions. She is an impact entrepreneur and innovator in the field of artificial intelligence. Cherry is a seasoned science research specialist from UP Diliman, focusing on environmental management, utilizing image processing and machine learning. She also has an extensive experience in project management and business development. She was also chosen by the DTI Export Marketing Bureau as one of the Startup Pinay founders during the Singapore Week of Innovation and Technology in 2018 and 2019. Sherry has a degree in chemistry from Mapua University, which led her to academic research and eventually providing innovation for sustainability. She has completed her entrepreneurship development program and startup management program at the Asian Institute of Management. That's all. Welcome, Ms. Cherry.
Hi, good evening. I am Cherry Murillion. I am the founder and chief executive officer of Kawil AI Solutions, a multidisciplinary artificial intelligence solutions that can be integrated into mobile and web application. So, how do we do that? Kawil AI's mission is to help humanities understand artificial intelligence. Our vision is to provide AI solutions to preserve biodiversity, livelihood, and environment with reliable and unbiased data analytics on demand. So, according to IoT analytics, there are over 17 billion connected devices in the world as based on a 2018 report, with over 7 billion of these are Internet of Things devices or IoT. And our smartphones are an example of a device that is being utilized for IoT. To be able to cope with the digital economy, we need to find out how to further utilize the internet and integrate it into a mobile gadget to connect people, businesses, and technologies. So the main challenges that we are addressing is the adoption of the digital technology as we enter Industry 4.0. The pandemic has accelerated the need for AI applications, especially in the field of medical imaging, businesses, and financial management. And our competitive advantage is our diverse experience in computer vision. And we also do customize computer vision tools that can be integrated in the web and mobile applications to fulfill the IoT cycle. So all throughout our almost 2 years operation, Kawil AI was launched during the pandemic. And the development of our prototype was supported last 2020 by Australia Alumni Grant Scheme to integrate AI for training to upscale unprivileged women in the rural areas. In addition, we were also provided COVID-19 pandemic support under the UNDP and Australia Aid through the initiative of PhilDev and ECIP. So we have seen how our neighboring countries in the ASEAN regions have supported the development of AI in almost all industries. However, we have observed that local corporates and private stakeholders remain conservative in supporting niche startups like technology and innovation. The development of AI tools is tedious and expensive. However, we are hoping corporations and the private sectors will open for co-creation and partnership with local startups rather than outsource it overseas. In addition to that, the Bayanihan Act encourages companies to transact with MSME to support the Philippine economy. So we are thankful to the Philippine government for the Startup Act that gave us funding support to further enhance our capabilities and boost our credibility to connect with local and foreign countries. And we also benchmark our first corporate engagement this year through property management tools and AI data analytics, one with Empire East. So it is really a high time to really collaborate with our tech companies and our tech startups in the Philippines. So it's an honor to share my insights into this growing interest for AI technology. The AI and IoT market alone is $16 billion, and we encourage local companies to invest and avail the services of tech companies to accelerate innovation and market opportunities through AI. And we look forward to explore co-creation and collaboration with private companies to eliminate industry silos and digital divide. So we are Kawil AI. We are the front runner in computer vision AI in the Philippines, empowering women in leadership. Here is our digital directory. We look forward for your contacts and collaboration with us. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Miss Cherry. So it's really great to hear stories about, women-led technology solutions for impact, especially in the field of AI and machine learning. So thank you very much for that very inspiring presentation. So our next speaker is Mr. EJ Arboleda, the CEO and co-founder of Taxumo, which is the Philippines' leading online tax compliance solution. So Taxumo reduces time spent on taxes from an average of 2 days every month to just 5 minutes. Taxumo is a multi-awarded Filipino startup that helps more than 45,000 professionals, micro and small businesses with their taxes. Please welcome EJ.
All right, thank you so much, Patricia. Hello everyone. First of all, thank you, PhilDev, ECIP, QBO, and Philippine Startup Week for asking Taxumo to be part of this very distinguished panel. I'm EJ Arboleda. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Taxumo. So Taxumo is a web application that helps professionals, MSMEs, and corporations with their tax compliance. As Patricia said, from an average of approximately 2 days every month, no users of Taxumo are able to drive it down to just 5 minutes. And how do we do that? We reduce the time spent on filling out complicated tax forms. You basically do that in just one click. And all you have to do is enter your income and expenses, which you can do so in bulk. We're also 100% online, which means that filing both the forms and attachments and paying the tax due itself can be done end-to-end on Taxumo. So you no longer have to line up at the chosen branch that your revenue district office has accredited. No? So Taxumo is always up to date as well. So any changes to the rates, to the formulae, any new forms that are brought about by new revenue regulations, revenue circulars, and revenue memos, all of that are automatically applied via the backend of Taxumo. So you're assured that your filings are always compliant. Aside from tax compliance, you can also pay your pag-ibig and SSS contributions on Taxumo. You can also book some time to talk in more depth with our vetted CPA consultants. And lastly, we also help with business registration and incorporation both in the Philippines and in Singapore, actually. So the reason we exist is to help entrepreneurs and businesses create more opportunities for Filipinos, and we want to become the bridge to legitimacy for the self-employed professionals and freelancers. This mission is something that we are actively pursuing in the Philippines, but this is a mission that we also plan to extend to other markets in Southeast Asia. We'd love to partner with other organizations who share the same mission as us. Just to give you an example, entities like Lazada, who want their micro sellers to legitimize and be compliant. We partnered with them to bring added value to their micro sellers. We created tax webinars and other educational efforts to help their micro sellers become more successful. And there's one question here I want to answer. How would you describe the current Philippine startup ecosystem, business ecosystem? I would say that the Philippine startup ecosystem is still very young. Most startups are still very much focused on the local market, which is not a bad thing in itself. After all, we are the 12th most populous nation in the world, no? But only a handful have broken out of the country's boundaries to really bring the same benefits to other markets. Good news is that other players, particularly the government, have started to cultivate startups, but I believe we still need to clearly define what a startup is, and by doing so, be able to address the needs particular to startups. So, what am I talking about? So, startups who are very experiment focused, they have a unique mix of innovation, which is not just technological innovation, but also innovative business processes. So for example, all starting businesses, they can definitely benefit from loans and grants. But startups in particular can benefit from a regulatory sandbox because startups, they push and create new business models that the current set of regulations have not anticipated yet. No? So there are different needs that startups, if defined the way I think Philippine Startup Week defines startups, if we define startups properly and startups are looked at that context, then we would be able to create programs that are more customized and relevant to that particular segment. So I would say, in simpler words, I would say that the support is starting, but startups are still mostly on their own, which is why I think it's great that events like this exist because we can work together, we can learn together, and most importantly, we can craft a better future together.
Thank you very much, EJ. No? So it's so amazing to learn about these solutions, and I know you're solving a lot of pain points for Filipino freelancers and small businesses, and interesting take on the Philippine startup ecosystem. And I hope that through this session and the other sessions in the Philippine Startup Week this year, we'd be able to have a really great action plan to support more startups in the Philippines. Great.
Yes, we're looking forward to that. Thank you, Patricia.
Mhm. Okay, so our next speaker is actually from the private sector. So Mr. Conrad Parizal has been with Shell for more than 20 years, where he has started as a community organizer for the Malampaya Natural Gas to Power project under Filipina Shell Foundation in Batangas. His contribution is securing social acceptability for Malampaya onshore gas plant has led his growth path towards managing community programs such as livelihood and enterprise development, community health, environment, disaster resilience, and road safety. Sir Conrad is also directly managing Shell's key social investment programs such as Shell Livewire, Road Safety, Shell National Student Arts Competition, and Shell Eco Brick Project. He recently assumed the role of Country Social Performance Manager, building strong teams collaboration and integration with operating business and new projects towards strategic management of impacts, stakeholder relations, and sustainability. He is a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Human Ecology major in Human Settlement Planning and took Masters of Science in Public Affairs major in Strategic Planning and Policy Studies at the University of the Philippines. He was awarded as a outstanding student leader and recognized as distinguished alumni in the field of corporate social responsibility by the said university. Hello, Sir Conrad. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Patricia, and good evening to all of you. Okay, first of all, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share about Filipina Shell's partnership to our local startups through the Shell Livewire program. You see, Filipina Shell is an energy company that has been operating in the country for more than 100 years. We provide, while providing fuel or energy to the country, Filipina Shell supports wider communities together with our social arm, Filipina Shell Foundation Incorporated. The programs include access to energy, education, safety, environment, community skills, and enterprise development, such as the Shell Livewire program. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to the closure of countless local businesses, leaving millions of Filipinos unemployed. The challenge continues as the country and the world still trying to combat the virus. Amidst all this, the Shell Livewire program creates the opportunity for Filipino innovators to help revitalize our economy by creating jobs and services through their creative business ideas, which are relevant to addressing the needs and challenges of the new normal. The Shell Livewire support these ideas to mature into sustainable businesses by providing training, mentoring, and coaching from our pool of experts, Ignite PH, and the global development company DAI, and additional funding capital to start or enhance their businesses. We also partnered with local startups to identify potential integration to Shell value chain. For instance, the CBAP Multipurpose Cooperative from Batangas, which trained 20 women in sewing, now supplies face masks to more than 200 or to more than 100 Shell retail stations nationwide. You see, CBAP Multipurpose Cooperative was also awarded as one of the top 10 innovators by the Shell Global Livewire. So the Unisan Agdangan Coconut Farmers Cooperative in Quezon, which produces lamps and even fashion accessories out of coconut byproducts, is now supplying corporate giveaways to Shell companies. The Makahalar Wharf Porters Cooperative or Association in Cagayan de Oro launched its very first eco-brick manufacturing hub, which produces or repurposes plastics or plastic waste into brick materials that will be used to fence for fencing, walls, and road pavers for our Shell stations and partner developers. Other Shell Livewire alumni are progressing deals with our various Shell businesses such as mobility, lubricants, real estate, and other non-Shell investors. The Shell Livewire program is also our contribution to nation building by creating and empowering community of local innovators and focuses on energy solutions, environment, circular economy, and local prosperity. Since the launch of Shell Livewire program last year, more than 500 Filipino entrepreneurs applied for Shell Livewire. Thus, we see the need to do more in supporting startups, particularly those that are in the grassroots level. The cooperatives and local associations are our strong partners in the community, but most of them lack the full potential to professionally operate their projects and have been facing several challenges adapting to a digital world. So that is why Shell help them bridge the gap by connecting with the government and fintech institutions as part of the Shell Livewire Acceleration Program. Our young members of the community have the energy to bring forth bright ideas, yet also need preparation and guidance to incubate and grow. This is where Shell partners with non-government organizations such as PhilDev and Actus have been vital in supporting this endeavor. To date, Shell Livewire supported more than 250 local jobs created and sorry. To date, more than 250 local jobs were created and supported by the Shell Livewire program in the Philippines, where 65% of them are women. We expect to grow its reach and provide more opportunities to our Filipino startups. Our country needs them. Let Shell Livewire be one of the platforms to help the underprivileged and the unemployed members of the community. Let us bring new hope to more enterprises that were impacted by the pandemic. Let us unite, hold, and help each other to rebuild our economy. Together, we can keep moving the Philippines forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Conrad. So it's really impressive to hear about the initiatives of Shell, and we hope to see more large corporations have these kinds of programs that startups can participate in and scale and grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, finally, our last speaker is Dr. Eric Tomacruz, a social media and data science entrepreneur with a focus on finding innovative algorithms and creating platforms to bridge relevant information from multiple sources to the global internet community. Dr. Tomacruz is the founder of FindShare, a white labeled cashback and rewards program platform provider in the Philippines that leverages big data analytics. His expertise includes data mining, big data, and deep learning algorithms for discovery of rewards, destinations, products, and content. He finished his Bachelor of Science, MS, and PhD in Electrical Engineering and Computer Science from UC Berkeley. Dr. Tomacruz is the president of the Berkeley Club of the Philippines, and he's also serving as the executive vice chairman of PhilDev Foundation. Hello, Sir Eric. Thank you for taking the time to be here tonight.
Thank you, Patricia, and good evening to everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this event. And I'd like to talk about my startup, FindShare. We are a seamless cashback and rewards program, and we solve three problems in the marketplace. First, we make it easier for users like you and me to take advantage of cashback programs by removing all the pain points that you see in current cashback systems. Second problem we're solving is guaranteeing ROI for the digital spend of merchants on the internet. You always hear of stories of merchants spending a lot of money in platforms like Facebook, Google, and not getting their ROI. So that is one of our solutions too. And finally, our third solution are for e-commerce enablers. These are credit card, debit card, e-wallet, and loyalty program companies. We provide them a solution that makes people transact more. When people transact more, they increase their revenues. So what's our solution? It's using technology. This is data mining, affiliate systems, uh, deep learning, and also big data to create a seamless cashback and rewards platform. I'll show you some examples of our current deployments today. Here's our first, probably most known example. You can find our service running in Gcash. You can click on G Life and look at Cashback by FindShare. And when you click on that tab, you will see our mini program running, and it will show you a list of merchants that you can shop from and the corresponding cashback. If you click on Lazada, you'll get a Lazada focus page that will show the current promos, terms, and conditions. And when you click Shop Now, you will see the different conditions and your current cashback. And if you agree, you just end up in your Lazada app, do your normal e-commerce journey, and 60 days later, your cashback is automatically deposited to your Gcash e-wallet. So this simplifies the e-commerce journey and getting your cashback. Here's another example. We're also deployed with Go Rewards, which is the merging of Robinson's Reward and Cebu Pacific GetGo. You will find us in the Shop and Hotels tab of the app. And if you click on Points by FindShare, you will see a page similar to what you see inside the Gcash app, but instead of getting cash back, you are now going to get Go Rewards points for the purchases that you make. Click on Lazada again, you'll see a Lazada focus page, the points that you will get for every 100 pesos spent. Again, you'll see a user confirmation page, and when you click proceed, you end up in your Lazada app, and 60 days later, your Go Rewards points will be automatically be deposited in your Go Rewards account. So very simple process. In fact, I just used it recently for my Watson's medicine purchase, and I got 50 points for my medicine. So highly recommended to everyone. This system is also deployed with 5 banks in the Philippines. 2 are currently running, Union Bank and Maybank. Again, it's the same premise. You go to like rewards at unionbankph.com, for example, and you will see the list of merchants that you can shop from, corresponding uh, promos and etc. We are also deployed on money remittance services like Western Union through the ParaHub app. We are also in media sites, logistics sites like Shipping Cart, which allows you to order stuff from the US and easily uh, get cash back in your PayPal account. And finally, we're also in media sites like ManilaTimes.net, where you can get cash back through their website. So that is what Findshare is all about. And we are looking for first users like you to support our deployments in our numerous services. And also, we are looking for financial institutions that would be interested to increase transactions by offering a reward service through the Findshare Rewards platform. Also, we would like to sign up more merchants that will offer rewards. Currently, you can shop from over 200 local and international merchants in our platform and receive up to 20% cash back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Eric. So I've always been amazed with, what FindShare does and how it's able to make online transactions more appealing to Filipinos. No, like me, I want the low risk, high reward type of platform. So really, it's something that we really want to do for all Filipinos, right? So, okay. So, I'd like to thank all the speakers tonight for all your presentations. It was great learning about the roles you play in your respective companies, and it's really interesting to hear how you were able to position yourselves within the Philippine startup and business ecosystem. And we see a lot of complementary perspectives, and it just shows how big the opportunity is when it comes to intersectoral collaboration. So now I'd like to invite all the speakers back to the screen, please. Okay. All right. So now I'm sure everyone who's watching wants to learn more from you. I know I do. So while I throw in a couple of questions, I also want to encourage the participants to send in your questions through the chat box, and our speakers will be happy to reply to your questions. Okay. All right. So this first question is for everyone. What do you think are the benefits of having, intersectoral collaboration, specifically between startups and big companies? For Ms. Cherry, Sir EJ, and Sir Eric, you may want to discuss the benefits to your respective enterprises, and for Sir Conrad, you may want to, discuss the benefits of these kinds of collaboration for large corporations like Shell. Um, Ms. Cherry, would you want to go first?
So, hi again. So, yeah, thank you for the question. I see, uh, I'll be candid about this because I have previous experience with collaboration overseas with other companies, uh, especially for startups. It's part of their initiative, the government initiative, to really match or really promote startups to really work and validate their uh, proof of concept and maybe their minimum valuable products with private companies with similar or maybe possible verticals. And uh, foreign companies like in Singapore, they're very open in really testing the waters with startups. And uh, I've seen a lot of startups really did well with their partnership. And I think it's more on inspiring them and letting them know that you have something that we can improve, we can test, and later on, it's for adoption for everybody. That's what I'm looking for. And here in the Philippines, I know there's a lot of corporate companies. I mean, we've worked with Shell under a subcontractor way back with my previous company. It was just like it's just a tip that they need something on environmental. So we applied, and yeah, we passed the bidding process. We passed all the requirement. So, but I think the 5 year requirement for bidders, that was questioned during our presentation. So the foreign company who wanted to partner with us for outsourcing the data from us uh, put a good word and a letter to the one with the Shell group to have a consideration onboarding us to their project. So that's my experience, and I see it is possible. So I really am looking forward that other corporates will do the same, especially now in this pandemic. So yeah, that's mine.
Thank you, Miss Cherry. Sir EJ?
Yeah. So for me, no, aside from of course being a customer or a supplier of a big corporation, I think collaboration also means that we sort of co-create the future together. We look for ways to create that new environment that we want to create. And I think by partnering with corporations from a startup point of view, we're able to accelerate that because a lot of corporations already have an established user base. And if we're able to, also tap that established user base, then that allows us to reach our mission even earlier. From a bigger corporation's point of view, I think the benefit there is that they're going to be able to bring added value to their user base. Aside from just providing whatever it is that they were providing in the past before, then now they would be able to also give um, new innovative solutions to their customers, which at the end of the day will be beneficial because I think all companies say this, but the success of your customer, that's also going to be your success. So the more successful your customers are, then that's win-win-win for everyone. So I think that's one of the key benefits of partnering with corporations.
Yeah. Thank you, EJ. So I agree also, no. We'll be able to leverage on each other's strengths. Yeah. Sir Eric, would you like to add to that?
Yes, the Findshare journey, we've been around for about 6 years now, but the first 3 years of our existence, we had a very different business model. We actually started off as a recommendation platform. So we were providing like turnkey solutions to companies like Smart, uh, National Bookstore, SM Supermalls, like ways to present data that we mine on the internet and package it in such a way that it enabled more e-commerce transactions in their different sites. But ultimately, one day, one of our clients, a large corporation, told us that a need it was on the cashback platform, right, and creating it for them. And because of that collaboration, we were able to pivot, which was essential. This was about the 3 year mark of our company. And because at that point, we realized that our recommendation platform was not scalable. We probably could get a couple dozen clients, but that was it. That's how big we were going to get. And it was also easy to replicate by any tech savvy company. So we realized, oh, we're not going to survive or grow with this platform. But because of our collaboration with a large corporation, we were able to pivot into a rewards and recommendation platform, which I presented to you earlier. And through this, we're able to have a platform that we're confident we can really grow here in the Philippines with all sorts of financial institutions, with all online merchants. And we also believe that whatever we do in the Philippines is applicable to a lot of countries abroad. So we're really excited. And thank you because of our collaboration with a large corporation, we are here today.
Thank you, Sir Eric. So it's great to hear that it also became a learning experience for your startup, no, to become more relevant in the market. Amazing. Okay, Sir Conrad.
Yeah, Patricia. You see, Filipina Shell is just one of the large corporations, as we can say. So, but for Shell, local content is one of the core policy in the company. We provide opportunities to local communities, to startups, to participate in our supply chain. In fact, we recognize the greater value of supporting local startups to showcase their capabilities and product potentials through integration to the Shell businesses. You see, this does not only lower the cost, but also since supply or services are locally sourced, that's why it's lowering our costs. But this also contributes to our local economy, particularly in areas where we operate. So, however, the challenge is that most startups should really follow the commercial process, as I think what Ma'am Cherry mentioned. There are a lot of commercial processes, and that's really a challenge for local startups, particularly those that are starting. There are contracting and procurement processes as well that our startup should really think about. You know, thank you.
Thank you, Sir Conrad. So you're very in line with what Miss Cherry mentioned earlier, no? So we're already going to the challenges of the collaboration, and later on we want to unpack that as well. So there's obviously benefit for both sides of the for companies and also for startups in these collaborations. But I wanted to hear from Sir EJ about maybe their experience and how they were able to look for companies to partner with. And, following what Miss Cherry and Sir Conrad said, now, what challenges did you encounter in pursuing these partnerships?
Right. Okay. So a lot of our collaborations, there's a big co-marketing aspect. So as I said a while ago, no, when we partnered with Lazada, it was fairly straightforward because we were bringing benefits to their microsellers, and it was also beneficial for us to do that. Some other partners we also partnered with Grab. So for example, for Grab, they have with Grab Pay in particular. So most of their user base, they're very young. So they have an hashtag adulting campaign, and that's where we come in because apparently taxes is hashtag adulting, which which is inevitable, no, when you're an adult. So that's so we are also able to bring a benefit to their users that way. And of course, for example, like Gcash, for example, Gcash and Globe in particular, they have a very very startup mentality. They are what do you call this? They're very experimental as well in terms of like the programs that they want to do, and they partner with organizations that they feel are able to sort of bring that type of innovation. And fortunately for us, we were able to bring that innovation for them. No, so the partnership in particular are, for example, like legitimizing registration processes, automating those types of processes for their users. So we're able to do that for them. In terms of like how do we look for a partner that we can work with, I think it's important that we see eye to eye first of all on the mission. It's very easy to look for partners who, because it's gonna be a lot of cash, but it's important for us, and I think this is something that PhilDev and ESIP has hammered into our brains. We at the end of the day, we are going after impact, we're going after change, and if that is something that is not gonna be created by the partnership, then our efforts are better spent elsewhere. So really, we are very intentional about that, and I believe startups should also be as intentional because honestly, when you're able to create that type of change, then money and revenue will just follow. To be honest, so I think really that's the best way to look for partners.
Thank you, Sir Ichi. I wanted to have, a follow-up question to that. In your experience, what growth stage in a startup do you think is the most ideal to engage with companies?
What growth stage? Well, in terms of growth stages, it's like everyone has their own definition of what the growth stage is.
Ah,
I think as you have shown that you have enough traction to show that you are able to provide the service that you promise to provide, that you have sort of a proof of integrity as an organization, then I think that then it would be now up to the partner organization if they want to um, if they want to work with you. It differs because we did experience some of the things that Cherry did mention, like working with for example, like getting a loan. But in order to get a loan, even in banks that say they are SME friendly. So, but if you want to get a loan, you have to have like 5 years of positive cash flow. But if you're a startup, normally like the first few years you are negative, and that's intentional because you're innovating, you're learning something new, you're experimenting in something unprecedented in the marketplace. So yeah, so I think those are that's the I think the main challenge that we encountered when we ourselves tried parang the negative examples naman of of trying to collaborate.
I see. Yes, thank you. So I wanted to also, ask Sir Conrad about that, no? So we mentioned that there's challenges in terms of finalizing collaborations between startups and large corporations, meaning a lot of, procurement, lengthy procurement process and very high uh, requirements, especially in terms of financial capacity. So, how do you think corporations and startups can work together in going around that challenge?
Well, for me, I think going to re-echo what EJ mentioned, it's really important that we are aligned in our agenda. Yeah.
Mhm.
So for Filipina Shell, in fact, particularly there are also different levels of startup, as also mentioned by EJ. For Filipina Shell, it's important that we are aligned with our agenda. For Shell, it's providing opportunities to our local communities where we operate, particularly how the communities or the startup communities can participate in supplying services or even other products to our various distribution channels. It's also important that we are also aligned with creating jobs for our local community. This way, we can replicate the benefit to wider stakeholders, and it's also important that we create an impact by augmenting income, not only by the business but also to the communities where we support. For Shell Libar, it's in fact we are looking at product viability. uh, we make it sure that still the business or even an emerging startup can still earn an income out of this transaction with Filipina Shell. The sustainability is also a challenge. In fact, how can the business or the startup business can assure that they can provide or they can support or supply a, a number of products, particularly to our mobility and daily to go stations. It's also important that there's a link to local content. So it's really on creating jobs to a wider stakeholder base. So our focus mainly is really on energy, environment, and circular economy is also a big part or becoming a big part of our decision making process. And local prosperity is something also that how can we support more communities using our startup or innovative startups in our various communities. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Conrad, for that answer. No? Okay, so I wanted to ask also Miss Cherry, since Kawil AI is exploring a fairly new sector in the Philippines, and how do you think a partnership with more established companies can help your enterprise grow and introduce more AI based innovations in the country?
Actually, it will really help big time for us because based on my experience, having a niche product is not for consumer. It's for the big companies, for their consumers. our target is the big companies. They are our users. They are our source of this innovation, because uh, the consumer market will just follow. So even before with me, that's why I always say I'm raising or I'm doing co-creation overseas, because they have so many calls. So maybe just one day I get a co-creation uh, partnership with them, then I can launch and show that we can do it. And all those co-creations are funded and paid on an actual rate. So that's what I'm really looking forward here also in the Philippines to be replicated, not by Shell only, but other companies, because I'm very much confident that corporates can do it. They're just kind of conservative in adopting it. And if we are looking at exploring the capabilities of the Filipinos, especially in technology, there's a lot of technology out there. It's unexplored. It's uh, near nearly dying because consumers are not aware that we have it. So that's why for me, for niche market, for niche product, co-creation or a collaboration with established corporate companies is a big help for us to really show that we can do it. Second, it will normalize the launch, because here we have a proof that we can do it already, and everything will follow. So it's what we are looking forward with other companies, and every now and then. That's why consumer products, you just put it in Facebook and everybody will just click it. But for us, Facebook is not our place. So that's the difference. So that's why having this talks with, presenting our company with corporates is a big help. It's a big boost when we go to market. That's why for me, I never cease to do or present a co-creation uh, product or innovation, especially with AI, because it's high time for us to know what are the different products and services from AI. So yeah.
Okay. Follow-up question, Ms. Cherry. So you talked about co-creation in other countries, but bringing it here in the Philippines, the collaborations. What do you think are the main factors or conditions that should be present in the Philippine ecosystem for AI innovations to be more to flourish and for startups like Kawil AI to succeed?
Uh, what I'll talk about the barriers first. The barrier is understanding of the technology. They think that if you have something that works on an app, it's already an AI or something like that. Uh, that's not how it goes, but these are byproducts of the technology coming from the AI. And understanding how to put it into market is also a different thing. But for us, as I mentioned, we are a niche company. We provide a niche product, and it's not on a general consumption that something that you can click on an everyday basis like consumer products. Our main user is consumer is corporate. So it's an overall solutions. It's not just a chatbot. Chatbot can be downloaded now. So it's not like that. So that's why, as Sir Eric also mentioned, we learn when our corporate partners adapt it. So one example, with my Empire transaction, my lead engineer inquired that, can we do analytics for payment? Yes. And can we integrate it into the web and mobile application? Yes. So I have a friend who's looking for a supplier for that one. but we need to build the whole system. So that's how it started. So we followed the rule. We also bid. For me, my first move is complete all the papers when I started the startup, my company. I completed all the requirement so that when they say, I need this business requirement for you to qualify for a bidding, I'm ready to submit it. So it's my responsibility also to push myself or push my company out there. So when they said, "Oh, submit your requirements so we can be included to the bidding," I was never, I didn't have a second thought. I submitted it. Of course, they have another requirement for another, like financial. Actually, I just submitted my financial just a month ago. It took me around 6 months also to submit, but they considered my application because I have completed all the requirements based on the terms of reference. So that itself, you see the co-creation because it's not really very pronounced in what I've pitched. Maybe somebody will ask, why are they doing property tech? Because we are technology provider utilizing AI. So that's the answer. That's why I said it's a multidisciplinary market that we are serving. It's not just financial. It's not just commercial. It's the backbone of the technology. So I was confident to provide that service because I know we can do it. It's our first time again to uh, bid for a corporate project. And yeah, we are happy to be approved. And yeah, it's an ongoing development right now. So
Thank you very
yeah, I
much.
guess that's the value of the co-creation. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Cherry. So maybe I want to open that question also to the other speakers and panelists. If you have anything to add to that, what types of factors or conditions should the Philippines have for um, for startup and company large company collaboration here in the Philippines to succeed?
Yeah, I'd like to comment now on engaging large corporations. I'd like to say sell it first before you build it. You probably save a lot of time. Um, One thing I've noticed, there's a lot of startups that build technology, then they have a solution looking for a problem. And a lot of times that doesn't work too well. I think that's how Findshare started, right? We had a solution trying to find who would buy it, right? But when we finally pivoted and knew the problem that the companies that are really looking to be solved, it made things a lot easier in terms of getting funding, right? Having direction for the company. So it would be ideal, right, if startups can be part of some environment that will allow them to right away talk to potential clients, which are usually large corporations. And I also wanted to point out that this environment will hopefully make large corporations more agile. I think that's one of the biggest obstacles too that we're facing even today, right? Imagine working with banks, right? They're very slow, right? You have to pass through all sorts of legal stuff. You're talking about years to get things done sometimes, right? With some of these institutions. So it's also, I believe, a good learning process, not just for the startups, but for the large corporations that uh, to innovate, you have to change the way things are done inside a large corporation. So those are my two takes from both sides, right? On what would be a great environment.
Thank you, Sir Eric. Anyone
Mm,
else?
yeah, sure. Siguro from my point of view, because I think like Cherry's solution, like Kawil AI, is very B2B. Our product is very B2C. So that's why like our approach to collaboration is different. Because that's why it's easier to basically sell to the customers of the big corporation. That's essentially what we have to do. Having said that, this does mean that as a startup, we do have to learn what is the context, and we do have to understand the market or the user base of that corporation, because the people we're going after organically, they are very different from the people that already are customers of another corporation's user base. So we have to also tweak the solution, look for changes that make it more relevant to them. So that is something that the startups will still need to do, I think. So just because you're B2C like us, it's not necessarily just plug and play. There is some level of customization, because, and I think this is true for any startup worth its salt, no, you will want to always understand who your customer is. You will always want to adjust to who your current understanding of the customer is. um, so I think that's something important to mention. Now, from a corporation point of view, I think Sir Eric touched on that, and that's very important. A lot of the processes are designed to be safe. A lot of the processes are called CYA, cover your ass. So, I think that is something that I think causes, or it's a cause why some corporations, big corporations, that's the reason why they are said to be less agile. It's because of things like that, and it's understandable because they are usually in a more regulated industry, so they have to adhere to a lot more regulations, etc. But I think there is probably some opportunity for some more creative means of implementing innovations, because you don't necessarily have to change everything. Like how startups do it, we do it step by step. We validate one assumption at a time, and we change and progress and evolve that way. And I think that is something that corporations, can learn by themselves, so they can develop their own solutions. But I think it will probably be easier if they partner with startups who can also sort of do that, and who have that already in their DNA. So I think that's something that hopefully in the Philippines, this is something that becomes more common, because I think Filipinos in general, and this is a hasty generalization, but I think Filipinos are very risk averse. So they don't want to try new things. If something's not broke, don't fix it. Kumbaga, no, that's very very Filipino. But on the flip side, Filipinos are very brand loyal because of that. So it's like it's a double edged sword that we have to live with. But I think the challenge is that the world is very fast paced now. The pandemic changed a lot. Everyone's been saying that. The people, Gen. We complain about millennials, but millennials are actually pretty old already. It's the next generation who's coming in that we have to get as customers already. But their mindset is already very very different from what we do. Something that we do, for example, Taksumo, is normally, if you were, let's say, from an older generation, when you have a business, you would automatically think, okay, get an accountant. But like kids now, they automatically think, hey, is there a service online that I can use for this? And that's where we come in. So that, like, the mindset is very different. And I think if they want to also go after those young people, I think being fast, being agile, being open to innovation, and probably working with companies who have innovation as their SOP, I think that will be very beneficial.
Thank you very much, EJ. So I actually agree, that there's a lot of factors, and it's just a matter of finding out how we're going to go around that hurdle, and just have an ecosystem that's beneficial for all. Okay, so I guess we're actually running out of time, but I have one last question for everyone. Maybe a sentence or two. How do you think these collaborations help create a better environment for Filipino enterprises post pandemic? So maybe who would want to go first? Sir Conrad, would you want to go first?
Yeah. Okay. So I think for Shell, it's really a strong part, having collaboration with our startups. Shell aspires to be able to integrate more community-based and technology startups in our supply chain, and this collaboration really helps. Such that Shell Livewire is really designed to be more aggressive in supporting our local startup. This is what the country needs, particularly during the time of the pandemic. Yeah. So it could either be in the front end, such that our startup directly supply to Filipina Shell. There's something like a business to business relationship, and there's another one at the back end. We're in having a our Filipina Shell Foundation, who can represent some of those very small startups, particularly those that are in the grassroots. In fact, as you can see in our corporate giveaways right now, there are a lot of community products being put into that, but those are being facilitated right now by Filipina Shell Foundation, because right now it's the some of the startups are really on the very early stage, so they have not yet establish their as what Cherry mentioned, their legal documents, their government permits, etc. So that's why there's also a challenge with Filipina Shell Foundation to really integrate all those community products and put it in a more impactful and um, valuable support for our communities, such as having them as a something like a corporate giveaways for our company. So there are also partnerships such as we established with Mayani. So some of the local farmers from our respective communities supported by Philippine Shell Foundation, we tap them to supply fresh goods or agricultural products for our mobility stations, particularly the deli to goes and the select stores. Even the women groups in Tacloban, they have produced this kadasig mask that are now being supplied to our retail stations. So there are a lot of ways. There are a lot of opportunities that we can provide. It's just that startup can just be really aggressive in really in coordinating or presenting their products. And the Shell Livewire design is really towards more alignment with our business, such that all our businesses can be integrated into the Shell Livewire program. They can refine their businesses or the design of their products towards achieving a more aligned product or aligned value chain in in Shell. Yeah. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you. Sir Eric, would you want to go next?
Yeah, a successful startup and large corporation collaboration would definitely, in my mind, create an environment where we increase the chances of success for the startup, right? Ultimately, that's what I would like to see. And the reason for that is startups. It's usually who to sell the product to, right? If you're a B2C, some consumers aware, it's could be a tough problem, right? That's why you end up working with corporations and make it pseudo like a hybrid, like a B2B to C, right? You're able to take advantage of a platform to reach out to the customer, which is also what Findshare is doing, and that increases our chances of succeeding, right? And I think that's one of the big key things, right, that startups should keep in mind, right? You probably always want to work with a large corporation to market your service, your technology that you're developing to increase your chances of success. And now, from the large corporation's point of view, this will increase innovation, right, by working with the startups. And what I'd like to see is also making these large corporations competitive, not only in the Philippines, but outside of the Philippines. Maybe now they can bring whatever product or service they have that's really running well in the Philippines to other Southeast Asian countries because of this new innovation that they added as part of their service. So it's a win-win situation that I can see for all parties involved.
Thank you, Sir Eric. And Miss Cherry?
Yeah, for my last note, basically co-creation and collaboration is what Sir Eric mentioned. It's a win-win solution for everyone. We should be open-minded in all aspects that we do, especially in business. So this will eliminate industry silos and really digital divide when we find leaders or corporate leaders who really see the value of each and every one, especially for startups and MSME. And thank you for all the support that Shell is really pushing forward, and we look forward also that many companies will also follow. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir EJ, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, so siguro kakat na lang. Yes. So yeah, definitely I'd like to echo what Cherry said about, what Shell is doing, what a lot of the big corporations that we work with are doing. I think they're finding ways of being able to work with startups. And we can take a note from their notebook, a page from their notebook, kumbaga, no? Like how they do it, because there are ways of partnering that is very low risk as well. That is still win-win for both the startup and the corporation. Having said that, I think one of the big reasons why Indonesian startups are big, no, aside from their huge population, is that big corporations really and big family firms help startups become successful. They really push for success and look for win-win situations, as Sir Eric said, with startups. No, I think in the Philippines that is something that is not yet there. I think in the Philippines it's still, at least from the stories and the anecdotes I hear, it's still a little bit predatory in that sense. But hopefully that is something that we can change because, honestly, the success of one Filipino company, if we get one unicorn, for example, in the Philippines, then that is just success for everyone. It'll just pave the ground, make it so much easier for all other Filipino startups to become successful, not just in the Philippines, but worldwide as well.
Thank you very much, Sir EJ. All right. So thank you everyone for those, wonderful answers and of course that rich discussion. And I certainly learned a lot and I just wanted to highlight a few things from the session about, leveraging on each other's strengths, the benefits from startups to be able to accelerate fast through the user base of the companies and the companies to be able to find quick solutions for their needs through the startups. Also, it could be a learning experience from what Sir Eric mentioned earlier, shared earlier. And of course, it is important to, of course, align your values, your company values for when you choose your partners. Of course. Okay. So we're now at the end of our session, but before we say goodbye, I'd like to take this opportunity, to announce, PhilDev's new initiatives. First is the Jumpstart program, which is a customized development program that, connects large corporations to PhilDev supported startups that are, market ready and more than equipped to address the corporation's innovation needs. And to know more about that initiative, make sure that you check our website at www.phildev.org. And for companies who are interested in working with startups, you may email our entrepreneurship manager, Kevin De La Cruz, at kevin.phildev@phildev.org. Okay, all right. So I guess that wraps up our session tonight. Again, I'd like to thank our speakers for taking the time to be here. We greatly appreciate your enthusiasm and energy in the last hour. And to the participants, we thank you for your active engagement in the chat box. It was great seeing all your comments and questions. And we hope to do this again with all of you next year, hopefully in person. Thank you and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.